I hope you can see my screen.
Yes. Yes, we can see it.
Just make sure that I have the right. Okay, looks like I'm sharing the right one. So last week we did, we started with if. So we looked at various ifs, so some ifs, count ifs, if or, if and. I'll just do like a quick recap. We remember what we did last week, like the ifs. Is everyone comfortable with it, or should we go over it quickly before we move on? I want to believe that we've all been practicing, at least, even if it's just to check it once. So the first thing we did was the simple if. And we used this example of Santa Claus giving kids Christmas gifts only if they're younger than 10. And we use the if function, which is a simple equal to if the age is younger than 10, is less than 10, then they get a gift. So we mark that yes. Otherwise, if that is not true, it's a no. And then once you enter the formula once, all you need to do is drag it down to wherever you want it. And we can see that any age less than 10 is a yes. Anyone older than 10 is a no. And we also tried, if it's either younger than 10 or 10, which is, so we use if or. So we started with equal to or, and then we put our logical text. So the first one is, it needs to be, can't see your screen. Can you see my screen? Okay. Let me see.
Well,
Can anyone see my screen?
Yeah, I'm seeing your screen.
Oh, okay, someone said can't see your screen. So just.
It's blank. It's black.
Oh.
Not from my end.
Okay, I think you probably need to like maybe disconnect and come back in.
Okay.
So the next one is either 10 years old or younger, and we're going to use or. So it's either less than 10 or equal to 10. So it would be, we'll start with equal to or. And the first one is we want the age to be less than 10. No, not greater. Less than 10. That's our first logic. And then we'll put a comma. Then you ask us, what's the second logic? It's going to be the age equal to 10. And as long as you continue to put comma, it would allow you to put more and more logical text in. So you can continue to build it up. But in this case, we only need to equal to 10 or less than 10. And I'm going to close the bracket. And of course, it's true because Tommy is 5. So it is either 10 or less than 10. And then once we do this, we now add the if function to it. So it would now be if this function, if it's true, then value if true is yes, get a gift. And value if false is no, no gift. And enter. No. Whatever. How many commas do I have? Comma, comma.
That's
Nothing,
zero
comma.
at the
Oh. And so it's no. So I've just 2 commas. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Thank you. So if they're less than 10 or 10, they get a gift. And if not, no. And if we drag this down, we can see that while Kim, they don't have a gift here, because what we have said is if you are less than, you only receive a gift if you are less than 10. In this case, Kim gets a gift because it's now either you're 10 or younger, then you get a gift. And then we've got another function here, which is if and we're saying if you are younger than 10 and you're in Apple class, that is when you get a gift. So we use if and, that's because we want two or more conditions to be fulfilled. In if or is either one or the other. If and, we want both conditions to be fulfilled before you can get a gift. So we're going to start with and, equal to, and we open a bracket. Our logical one is age is less than 10. That's our first one. Our logical 2 is the class has to be Apple. So this should be equal to, it will be Apple. And then we close the bracket and enter. And of course, this one will be false. The first one is false because while Tommy is less than 5, Tommy is not in Apple class. And then what we're going to do is add the if function to this. So if we add if, and that's our logical test. If it's true, then we want a yes, you get a gift. And if it's false, it's a no, you don't get a gift. And enter. And Tommy is a no. We drag that down, and then we have Grace is the only yes here. Grace is the only one less than 2 and in Apple class. So it's okay, you just build it one after the other. Start with one statement and then add on to it. And then we looked at various ifs. To do some ifs, count ifs, average ifs. So the first one, we have a table of footballers, where they live, their favorite color, and their income in millions. And the first one was, we were trying to sum if the sum of all the income of footballers who like the color red. So you're a footballer, you like the color red, we want to sum the income of everyone who likes the color red. And what we do is we use the sum if function, which is equal to sum if, open a bracket, and it prompts us to put the range. Our range is, we have to put the range for the criteria. We put the criteria and then we put the sum range. So our criteria here is red color. So we put the range for the color. So I'll just select the range where the colors are, put a comma, then it will prompt you to put the criteria. The criteria is red, comma, and then it prompts you to put the sum range. We want to sum, this is where the income is, that's where we are summing. And then we close the bracket and enter. And we got 194. And if you add up the income of everyone who likes red here, it would be 194, which is equal to this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this. And that is 194. So it would always be correct as long as you pick the right range, then that would be correct. And then the next one is, we have two conditions now. We want the sum of income only if they like red and they live in Paris. So not everybody who likes red live in Paris. So we have the red ones. I'm just going to highlight those ones in red. I'm going to color that red. And then we're looking for people who like red and who live in Paris. So we have two conditions to be met. For this, we have to have some ifs, and some ifs is would allow you to put different criteria in. So if you start with equal to sum ifs, open a bracket, the first thing it will ask you for is the sum range. So we'll put the sum range, comma, then it will ask us for the criteria range 1. Our first criteria is we want people who live in Paris. Paris is on column B here, so we select that column and comma, and put our criteria, which is Paris. So that's comma. Then it wants us to put the criteria range 2, which is the color. So we select the color column, comma, and then put the criteria, that's criteria 2, which is red. And you can see that if you continue to put comma, it will prompt you. You can put lots of criteria in, but we're only putting 2. So I will close the bracket and enter. And that is 110. So if we look at people who live in Paris, who like red, that's Paris red, and that's Paris red. So we have 3 people, which it will be equal to this plus this plus this. Okay, oh, equal to is 7 plus this. That should be 110. And we got 110 here. So we have only 3 people living in Paris who like red. So sum if we start with the criteria, sum ifs start with the sum range. And they're mainly the same. It's just the position of what you select for that is different, and the criteria. And count if works the same way. To do count if, it will be equal to count if, open a bracket, he asks us for the range. So it's just the range and the criteria is only counting, it's not summing anything. So the range is we want people who like yellow. So our range will be the color column, comma, and our criteria is yellow. Close the bracket, enter. We have only 4 people. That's yellow, 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 and yellow. So we have 4 people, it's counted 4, who like the color yellow on the table. Then the next one is count ifs. Works the same way, but you can put different conditions. Equal to count ifs, open a bracket. Our criteria is, if we start with the city, our criteria range 1 is the city. We select the city, comma. Select our criteria 1, that's California, comma. Our criteria range 2 is color. We select the color, comma, and then criteria 2 is yellow, and select that and close the brackets, enter. We only have 1 person who lives in California and likes yellow. We can easily confirm. So that's the only person who lives in California and likes yellow. For average if, it's just like the other ones. We use average if equal to average if. Our range is, we're looking for people who live in London. We're trying to find the average yearly income of people who live in London on the table. So average if, our range will be the city, comma, and our criteria is London, comma, and it wants us to put the figures we want the average of, which is the income here. And we close the brackets, enter. And the average of income in London is 72.33. If you do that manually, you will realize that it is 72.33 based on the average down here. So it's really as simple as that. Then we went to if error to check, to convert errors. You know, when you have calculation errors, it's always useful to add an if error to your formula so that, you know, if you're like adding stuff up, it won't mess it up. So if error is checking for an error, you're saying if it's an error, if you find an error, then do this. So it will be equal to if error, if it's an error. So open a bracket, click on what you're checking. If it's an error, we can first check if this is an error, but we know it's an error. If error, yeah, it is an error anyway. If error, comma, if it's an error, what do you want it to do? So if it's an error, we want it to return 0, enter. Or maybe return, to make it clearer, let's put in error. And then you have this. So sometimes, you know, like when you design a form or something and you want particular things there, and if there's an error, you want the person to check. So you can actually put maybe check entry, and if it's an error, it will bring that out. It will bring that in. But if it's not an error, then it will give you what is there. So I think that was where we stopped last week. We're going to continue with nested if. A nested if is when you combine ifs together, different ifs together. So you combine 2 or more ifs sentences together. That's because you're looking for different criteria to be fulfilled. So in this case, there's a store that offers a 20% discount on Thursdays only to people older than 60 years with store points over 50. So your loyalty points has to be over 50 and you have to be over 60 years. 60 years. That is when you're given a discount on Thursdays. So we have the customer's records here. And so we have William. And we need to check if William is eligible for a discount or not. So the first thing we need to do is we need to check if William is older than 60 years old. So it will be equal to if our logical test is the age has to be greater than 60. So this is our age, 60. And this is our data box here under customer verification. So this is like a form. For instance, maybe someone at the storefront has this form, and what they need to do is put the customer's name, William, and it will bring out their age and their loyalty points. And you already have this answer in the background. So once they put the name, they would know if William is eligible for a discount or not. I'm going to show you how the form works, but let's start with the formula. So if C17 is greater than 60, that's our first test. So if C17 is greater than 60, we want William, whoever is greater than 60, to get a discount. So let's do equal to yes. And otherwise, if that age is less than 60, then it's a no discounts. I'm going to close this. So that's the first criteria. You have to someone older than 60. Of course, William is not older than 60, so this is a no. Let me start with someone who actually fits the criteria, and then we'll change it. So let's assume this is Susan. Control C. I'm just going to put Susan here. So that's Susan. So Susan is obviously older than 60. So Susan is a yes. but we also have to check for loyalty points. So we need to nest another if. We have to put another if inside this if. So if C17 is equal to 60, I need to put another if here because I want another criteria to be fulfilled before this person can get a discount. So it would be, then I will have if loyalty points is greater than 50. I think, is that our criteria? Greater than 50. You must have stop points greater than 50. If it's greater than 50, then it's yes. Otherwise, it's a no. That's my second if that I've actually put inside the if and enter. I'm missing, yeah, comma. What am I missing? So value if true. How many commas do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I'm missing quite a number of commas. Let's see. Let's go.
I think the close should be double brackets if you use nested. I'm not sure.
So I say that again.
The close brackets, that's the end bracket after the no. You know, it's
Yeah,
this one is
it's
single,
yeah.
is one. I think it's by the time you had the second one. I'm not sure. I think by the
So,
second one has to be double.
so if let's add the second one. This is greater than 50. Then is a yes. That's the second one, comma. And then it's a no. And then we close that bracket.
Double close, I think.
Yeah. So what we have done is, what we have duplicated is, so we're saying if 17 is greater than 60, if it's a yes, right, then we test another condition. And then if that is a yes, then it's fine. Otherwise, it's a no. So how many brackets? 1, 2, yeah, we have enough brackets. Let's see. So the first condition is C17 is greater than 60. So if we test that, if it's a yes, then we test another if, which is if C18 is greater than 50, then that's a yes. Otherwise, it's a no. And then if the whole thing is no, then it's no. Does it make sense? Let's do it again. I'm going to delete it and do it again. So our first if is equal to if our first logical test is the age. If age, this is greater than 60. If that is a yes, we want to test another if. If loyalty points is greater than 50. So that's our second condition. So we're saying if it's greater than 50, if it's a yes, if it's greater, then it's a yes. Otherwise, it's a no. Otherwise, it's a no. And then we'll close this if, and then we'll continue this first if, which is going to be a no. So if this condition is met, then you check this, and then it's a yes. Otherwise, it's a no. And then we're left with the last negative, which is going to be value if false, which is going to be a no. So when you build this form, so we put Susan here, the age, if you notice, when I change the name from William to Susan, the age and loyalty points change. And that's because we're using lookup. Remember our VLOOKUP to pick the age for Susan here, and we're using lookup to pick the loyalty points. So if I change this to Kate, for instance, let's put Kate here. So Kate is now, I want this to disappear. Okay, let me try, okay, yeah, I wanted that box to disappear so we can see the age. So when I change the form, the name to Kate, the age is now 78 and the loyalty point is 77, which is based on this table. So you can use this like to design a form. So you want people to have like something quick that they can use to check. It doesn't matter what you're checking. Something is in the background, you know, and you have put like your VLOOKUP to pick the right data once they change the name or whatever they need to change. So you can use like different formulas to like create a front. Everything will be happening in the background. So all they need to do is change the date. For instance, Jacob, let's type Jacob here, and everything will change. And also you've already built in the formula that will determine if Jacob gets a discount or not. So you have this, you know, you're dealing with the data, you have it built in the background. So you can easily create a very simple formula to do that using your if functions. And because you know which customer is coming to the shop that day, and instead of them to scroll through the list to see who is eligible or not. I mean, this is how, you know, this is what happens in the background. It would usually be like some formula, some, you know, some script written just to bring the correct information out. So that's nested if. So that's adding an if inside another if. And you can add so many ifs. Sometimes when you look at the formula and they have so many ifs in it, it can be quite confusing. Because even sometimes yourself, if you build it and you add a lot of ifs, it's hard to like comprehend. But when you build it from scratch, it's easier. So you just build the if after the other. Can we do this one together, please? Just to check that we understand it. Let's do this together. Can someone help us? Can someone help? Do we understand this at all? Fast. I don't think anyone is following this. Okay, let's do it again. Our first condition is if the age is greater than 60. Who is going to help us with that?
I can try.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
So equals
if
open bracket
open the bracket
C17
C17
greater than 60.
greater than 60. So that's a logical test, right?
Yes.
So we'll put a comma. What's our second test?
That's the point bit. So
Yeah.
If open bracket C18 greater than 50 comma those two commas, inverted comma, I don't know what it's called. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Comma.
Comma.
No.
No.
Close the bracket.
Close the bracket.
I'm not sure of the remaining, but comma, then no, close the bracket.
Comma.
No,
And then no. And then
close
close
the
the
bracket.
bracket.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you got him. It's right. So as long as you remember to like put your comma, then it will prompt you for the next thing. And if it's incorrect, you know, you'll be able to see. The first thing I check for is the bracket. Have you put enough? Have you put enough brackets? And then if we use the function argument box, our logical test is if
Sorry,
the
Kemi.
first, yeah.
Sorry to stop. I tried it on mine, but I can't pick up my error. It's giving me this problem with the formula.
Okay, have you checked your brackets? Do you want to share your screen?
Okay, thank you.
Share your screen, let's see.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, this one here.
So we're saying if G17, right,
Yes,
is greater than 60, comma,
yes.
and then if
G18
G18
is
is
greater
greater
than
than
50,
50,
comma.
comma, then is it,
Oh,
yeah, is
I've
a
seen
yes.
it.
You've seen it, yeah.
Yeah.
So you need to, yeah.
Thank you. I've seen it. Thank you.
Okay. 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 So I think what you need to do is just practice nesting the ifs and practice, you know, starting with the ifs, do simple ones, and then add more things to it. And you see that you can actually, you know, create something, you know, complicated. So that is our if. We're going to go to, what do we have next? We're going to go to some text functions. I'm going to put another, let's stop sharing. I'm going to put another file in the chat. Okay, this is quite funny. Where is the chat? Well, chat, okay. Can I check that we received the file?
Okay, yes, we received it.
Okay, now I'm going to share my screen now.
Yeah, I will receive it.
Okay, thanks. So they have some text function. Can you see my screen? Oh,
Good evening.
good evening.
Please, can someone help me put the help me put the data inside the group chat, please? The Telegram.
Ezekiel, I
It's
don't
there
understand.
already. It's there already.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
So text functions, oh, when you deal with data, there are some times that you have to like extract, well, data from within a cell. And there are sometimes you have to like change the format of the data. Like for instance, when you're working with names and everything is in lowercase, and you want to like change it to like maybe proper, proper was like with the first letter in uppercase and others in lowercase. Instead of, changing it one by one, there are functions you can use in Excel for this. The first function we're going to look at is a text function, which is left. And what the left does is you can pick data from the left. So we're looking at one particular cell B4. You can actually pick data from within the cell. So for instance, if you have a particular field and it will only take like maybe 5 characters from another field, so you can actually pick the 5 characters you want to put in that cell, if that makes sense. But I would explain it in a minute. So for left, you're saying you're picking characters from the left of whatever is in the cell. So for instance, look at this, this cell B4. It's got royal, dash, 1, 2, 3, best, ABC with some commas. And we want to pick the left. We want to pick some text out of what we have within this cell. The first one is the left. So equal to, if you do left, if you want to pick royal out, for instance, I'll open a bracket. So after typing left, I'll open a bracket. I want to pick royal out. So if I click on this cell, this is where I want it from, and comma, royal is 5 letters. If I put in 5 and close the bracket and enter, it will bring royal. Because what I've told it is, look at this cell, give me 5 letters and start from the left. So it will give you royal because you're counting from the left. If, for instance, if this is 7, for instance, it will give me royal and the dash because it will count 7 and just return whatever it gets. In this case, we only want royal. So I'll change this back to 5. The same thing applies to the right. So I'll jump to the right now. The right is, it will do the same thing that left has done, but it will start from the right side. So for the right, I will say equal to right. If I open a bracket and click on this cell, comma, if I want to bring out, just bring in ABC, I'll put 3 and close the bracket and enter. And then I have ABC. So it will start from the right. If you want to pick it from the middle of this text, then you use the mid function. The mid will bring it from the middle, but you have to tell it where to start counting from. So if we want to bring in, if we want to bring in 1, 2, 3, for instance, we're bringing in 3 letters. So we know that it's going to be mid, but we need to tell it where to start counting from. So it would be royal is 5, then 6, 7. So we want you to start from 8 and give us 3. So it would be equal to mid, open a bracket, click on the cell, comma, and then it will say start number. Where do you want to start from? I want to start from 5, 6, 7, 8. And I want you to return 3 letters and close the bracket. And it brings in 1, 2, 3. If we want to bring in best air, it would be, we're going to start counting from, so this is 8, 9, 10, 11. It will be from 12. That will be 12. And then we want 4. And that is best. And sometimes you want to like find the length of the characters in the cell. So maybe, for instance, if you are doing something and you know that if you're like, you want to upload it to a system, for instance, and you know that your character cannot be more than a particular number, otherwise it will reject your entry. So you can actually count the number of characters you have in a cell, and you use len for that. So if you want to count the number of characters in B4, it would be equal to len, open a bracket, click on the cell, and close the bracket and enter. So we have 20 characters here. Let's do this for, is that clear? Let's do this for the next one, which is you're beautiful. Let's start with left. If we want to bring in the U from here, who can help us with that? We want to bring in U from this cell here. Who's going to help us?
I
Are
can
you
let me
there?
try.
Hi.
Okay, so equals can you hear me? Hello?
Apologies. Yeah, sorry, I can hear you.
Okay, so Moyo typed it in the chat just now. So
Oh, okay.
equals
So equals
left,
left,
open
open a
bracket,
bracket,
B5,
B5,
comma 3.
3. Thank
Those are
you.
the-
If we want to do mid, let's bring in R for mid. Let's do mid.
equals
Equals
Open bracket.
B5.
no, let's start with
Sorry, equals mid,
mid. Yeah, we have to put the
open
formula first. Open bracket,
B5,
B5,
comma.
comma.
Put this before because of the space.
Yeah, the space is the character. So yeah, it would be
Or 5.
where, so it would be 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
5,
Comma
comma
3.
3. Yeah.
Close the bracket.
Thank you. And let's do right. Let's bring in TIFUL. TIFUL. For right.
I'm coming. Equals
Equals
right,
right.
open bracket,
Open a bracket.
B5, 1, 2,
B5.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, comma 9,
9.
close the bracket.
Yeah,
Another
close
comma.
the, no,
Okay,
close the
close the
bracket.
bracket.
Okay. 9. Okay, you're bringing in beautiful, right? Okay.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was what you said.
Yeah,
Oh.
no, it's fine. As long as it's just for us to get it. So that's fine. And the length of this, the length of characters in B5. Let's do the length.
Equals len,
len,
open bracket,
open a bracket,
then we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, sorry,
B5.
B5, yeah. And then close the bracket. And we have 17 characters there. So these text functions are actually really simple, but they can be very useful because if you have like a lot of data, you don't want to start doing this one by one. You might have like data that is all lumped together, and you would need this, you need these functions. The next one is the proper. So you have a list of names. That's the commonest thing I use proper for, and it's all in lowercase. One, you don't want to present your data like that. Names should have the first as the capital. And you need to change all these names. Instead of going in one by one to change it, the first letter to capital, you can use a proper function to change all the names to capital. So for instance, I have Kemi here, and I want to change this to proper. It will be equal to proper, open a bracket, click on the text, and enter. I mean, if it's one cell, then you can easily do that. But you can imagine if you have a long list of names that are all mixed up, then you can easily use the proper function to just change everything. And then you can now, just copy and paste value over the cells. If we want to use it for this here, it would be equal to proper. Click on the text and enter. And then we have it in proper. If, on the other hand, you want to change everything to uppercase, you can use the upper function, which will be equal to upper, open a bracket, click on the text, close the bracket, enter. And then you have everything in uppercase. If you want it in lowercase, it would be equal to lower, open a bracket, click on the cell, close the bracket, enter. And of course, you can do this for the one down. Of course, this is not going to change because this is already in lowercase. If I change this to this, for instance, then we can see the change. Is that clear? Can we do this together, please? Equal to, if we need to change this to proper, to like a proper case, it would be equal to proper, open the bracket, put the text, close the bracket, enter. Equal to
Proper.
upper, open the bracket. I mean, it's as simple as, just type in your upper, select your cell, and that is it. It's done. Equal to lower,
Open the bracket.
open bracket, click on your cell, close your bracket, enter. It is as simple as that. So further down, we're still going to build something with all this. So you see like the proper, how you can properly use it, to solve like data problems. The two other functions I want us to look at, the next two are trim and clean. And the reason why I've picked trim and clean is when we did VLOOKUP, I think about two weeks ago. And when you do VLOOKUP, if your data is not exactly as it is, the data you're looking for, if your lookup data is not exactly as what you're looking for, it won't bring it out. It will show an error. If you look at this grade here that I have here, there is space before the G. There's a space before the G. If I'm doing a lookup and I'm looking up grades and I'm looking is up to this, it won't find it because of that space in front of it. So what you need to do when you are looking up data, and you know the data is there, but maybe there are some functions there, there are some characters that you can't see, that is picking up, that is not recognizing that it's the same thing. You need to actually trim the data or clean the data. So when you trim the data, what it does is it takes off any characters that should not be there, like the extra space. It would clean it out. So if I use trim equal to, if I trim this data, this text here, what it will give me is it will remove that extra space because it's not necessary. The space in front of the G, the grade, it will remove it because it's not necessary. It won't, because when you do a lookup, it won't find that. So sometimes when you have data coming from different sources, you need to like trim the data to make sure that you don't have any characters that would not make your lookup work. So when you do your lookup and it doesn't work, you try and trim the data so that you know that you're comparing apples to apples. And that is when you use the function trim. So you first trim your data before you do your lookup. And then clean. So I'm gonna, if I drag this down to, if we look at magic cap here, there are two spaces. There are extra spaces between the magic and the cap. If I use the trim function, I'm just gonna drag this down. And we can see that there's now just one space between the magic and the cap. So what it would do is it would trim your data. It would delete all those unnecessary space that you don't need, and then just give you clean data. And then for clean works like trim, but there are also some characters that you cannot see that might be there that is not allowing your lookup to work. So what clean does is it will clean it out. So if we do equal to clean, you can see that clean has not taken out the space. But what clean does is it takes off some characters that you can't see. But what I would do is I need to find examples of all those characters so that we can see. So the first thing you use, if you use trim, if you know that you have some characters that, they call them like, I think, what's the word again? I'm trying to look for the word, but there are those characters that you can't actually see, but it's messing up your data. Then you can actually clean the data, and that's what clean does. Clean will take it out. So let's say equal to cancel. I want to see if we will bring up what we need. So it removes all non-printable characters from the text. So if you want to remove any non-printable characters, then you use clean. The next three functions are going to be find, search, and substitute. So find is simply you're looking for something in the text, and you're using the find function to look for it. So you want to find the position of that thing you're looking for in the text. So if we look for the position of is, for instance, in this cell, the tiger is fierce. So I want to look for the position of is. So I would do equal to find, open a bracket. What I want to find is the text. The text I want to find is. So I'll put it in. That's what I want to find, comma. And where do I want to find it? I want to find it in this cell here. And then I close my bracket, enter. And then it gives me 11. So that is where it is in this cell. So it's 11. Search works the same way as well. So you can either use find or search. So if I do equal to search, search, open a bracket. I want to find is, and I want to find it here, and close the brackets and enter. So of course it will return the same because it's on is in 11. So that is where I and S is. And then if you're looking for, if you want to do a substitute, for instance, so we want to substitute something for something else. So like this sentence, I've written the tiger is fierce. I want to change this to, for instance, the tigers are fierce. What do? I have to substitute RIS to, I have to change the R in a tiger to RS, and I have to change the is to R. So I can easily just do equal to substitute, open the bracket. What cell am I looking for? I'll click on B18 here, comma. Then it's asking me, what's my old text? My old text is, I want to change R, no, let me put, I want to change R space is, close, I want to change it to RS. So it will ask you for where your text is, what the old text is, and what you're substituting for the old text. And then close the bracket and enter. And then you can see that this has changed from the tiger is fierce to the tigers are fierce. And that's because I've substituted this R space IS.
Oh.
I've changed that to RS space ARE. Is that clear?
Yeah.
The next one I want us to look at is concatenate, which is adding text together. So we want to, what concatenate does is it would add your text together. Sometimes it's concat, depending on your version of Excel. So what you're doing is you have different items and you want to merge them all together in one cell. So if I have, for instance, let's see, let me do Black tab Friday. So I have this in different cells and I want to merge them together. I can use concatenate, or I can use the ampersand function, ampersand on the keyboard. So if I want to use concatenate first, equal to concatenate,
Open brackets.
open bracket. I want to join this. That's my first text. And I want to join Friday. If I close the brackets, it gives me Black Friday. Okay. But this Black Friday, I want a space in between. So I can put a space in between, comma, and enter. And then it gives a space in between. Instead of using concatenate, you can also use ampersand. So it would be equal to, I click on this cell, I use this, add a space in between, ampersand, and then click on Friday and enter. And I'll achieve the same result. So you can just use this this ampersand function on the keyboard to add it all together. So what you're just doing is you're just joining the text together, really. Sometimes you have things on different cells that you want to combine. And the next one is the number value. So if you have number formatted as a text, you normally see this this green thing at the top corner showing you that the number is formatted like a text, like it's preceded with an apostrophe. So that means that it is recognizing it as a text and not as a number. And if you are trying to add these things together, it would, because it doesn't recognize it as a number, it won't, your sum will not work. So you might need to first convert it to a number before you can do like additions on it. To convert to a number, there are different ways you can do it. You can use the number value function, and which is just equal to number value, open a bracket, click on the text, and enter. And then you can see that this is now a number as against a text. Another method is you can multiply it by 1. So if you do equals to, click on this and multiply it by 1, it changes it to a number as against a text. So you can either multiply by 1 or you can use a number value. Another way is also you can convert it through the down arrow by the side. You can convert to a number. But sometimes when you're working with a lot of data, when it's long and you click on that convert to a number by the side, you actually see it converting it one by one down. So it can be quite slow as against just using a number value or multiplying by 1 and just overriding the number formatted as a text. So let's do some practical examples. We're working on a new system, and we have email addresses of so we've collected email addresses of different people, and we want to, from these email addresses, we know that it's a combination of their first name, and we know that it has the email provider, the mail provider there. So we want to, like, maybe we want to do a letter there, so, but we don't have their first names. We only have their email addresses. And what we want to do is we want to extract their first name from their email addresses. And because we have a long list of this, we don't want to be doing it one by one. So we need something quick that will help us to extract this. So the first thing, so we want to extract the name. The first thing we're going to do is, we know that the name is the first one, is the first thing before the at. So the first name is what is before the at. So the first thing we want to do is we want to find the position of that at so that we can extract anything before it as the first name. And we can extract anything after it as the mail provider. So the first thing I want to do is I want to find the position of at. So if I do equal to, remember when we did find? So if I do find, I'll open a bracket. And then what I want to find is that at. I want to find at. Oh, sorry, I didn't put the, find at within this text, this text here, and close the brackets. So at here is in position 4. I'm just going to drag that down. At here is in position 7. At is in position 6, and at here is in position 5. And you know that, we're extracting the name before the at. And when we started, we used the left function, which we could have used for this. If, for instance, if all the first names are maybe they are all 5 characters, then we can use that to extract all the first name, but they're not all 5 characters. So we can't use that. We need to combine a couple of functions to be able to achieve what we want to achieve. So we found the position of at here for the different ones. And then we want to extract the first name. How do we extract the first name here? What do you think we'll use to extract the first name?
Left.
So we'll use left. So equal to left. Open a bracket. Right? So we want to find the first, so that's the text we're using, comma. What are we going to put as number of characters?
Three.
3. Okay, so if you put 3, let's put 3. Okay, and close the bracket, enter. So that works for Joe, right? That works for Joe at yahoo.co.uk, but will it work for the others?
No, it won't.
It won't, no, it won't work for the others. So what we need to do is we found the position of art and we want anything before that art. So instead of putting this 3 here, I know that my text is always going to be 1 before the position of my art. So instead of 3 here, I'm going to replace this 3 with this minus 1. Enter. So I know that my art is on position 4 here. If I drag this down now, can you see what has happened? It would always be counting, you know, that art position, anything before the art. So it will be that art, where that art is, minus 1. So because we found the position of that art, we can always like put the minus 1. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
No, sure it does.
Yeah. And then we want to find the mail provider. Yes, let's use the same method for the mail provider.
Will be fine.
It will be find. So
Is it
what are we finding?
the email provider?
We use right. We use right.
We use right. Okay, let's use right. Equal to right.
That will be C28 plus 1. Oh,
Right text. So is the text first, which is where the text we are extracting from is, which is that, comma. And then what will be a number of characters?
you think could it be C28 plus 1?
So this plus 1.
Yes.
Okay, enter. So that's what we have, .co.uk. Is that what we're after? Because what you have said is you're saying 4 plus 1. So you just bring in 5 characters.
Okay.
What else can we use apart from right?
Art.
Mid.
Let's try mid. Yeah, let's try mid. Equal to mid. Okay.
Okay.
Let's open our bracket. So we're looking in this text, right? Comma. Where do we start the number from? Where do we start counting from for the mid?
After the arts.
After the art, right?
Yeah.
And we already know our position for the art.
It's
So it's
4.
going to be 1 after the art.
Yeah.
So it would be, open a bracket.
4.
It will be this plus 1 because we're counting from the character after. Close the bracket. That's where we start from, comma. And how many characters after?
The 11.
Sorry?
11.
11. What if it's longer than 11? Honestly, we know that it's not, well, 11 will cover it. I think 11 will cover it, but just to make sure that nobody has like
make it 12.
Yeah, so let me put 25, right? Because I know that will cover it. Enter. And then if we drag that down, and then we have
Wow.
we have all this. So we have our mail provider. And because we put 25, so I'm just going to, if I copy this, for instance, I'm going to copy this and place it here. So it's gotten rid of, yeah, so there's no space. I thought there might be space there, and then we can use the clean function to take off any space, but it looks like it's fine. So can you see how we've combined like different text functions to actually bring out, pull out the data from this information?
Yeah.
And then you can now use like your mail merge. You have your first name, you have your provider. Depending on what you want to do with data, it might be that there's a different format that goes to Gmail or different format that goes to Yahoo Mail or anything, depending on what you want to do. You can pull out your data and you can combine different things just to get at what you're trying to achieve. Let's look at absolute values. And sometimes you might want to work with absolute
values.
Yeah. Sometimes you might want to work with absolute values. And what absolute means is you want to disregard the sign, the negative in front of the numbers. So whatever the number is, you just want to disregard the negative in front of it. And the way to convert absolute values to just regular numbers is just by using the absolute function, which is the ABS. So it would just be equal to ABS, open the bracket, click on the number, and what it does, it changes it to a positive number. So it would give you the absolute value of that number. So it will take off the sign in front of it and just give you that number. I know that, if you want to convert minus 23 to 23, for instance, you can always do equal to 23, minus 23 times minus 1, and that will give you 23. But if you need absolute numbers, if I drag this down, for instance, it would convert the positive to negative, and that's not what I want to do, which is where absolute comes in. So you use the ABS function to change it to absolute, depending on what you want to do. So if they're all negative and you want to convert it to positive, yes, you can multiply by minus 1, but they're not all negative. You have a mix of positive and negatives, and you want the absolute value. So if you use the absolute ABS function, that works better than just multiplying by like minus 1. I think that's the last of the functions I want to talk about. The next tab has to do with date and time. And sometimes, you have a document, you might have a document that works with the date. So for instance, you're calculating the number of days. Okay, you have every day, maybe you have to do a report that will calculate the number of days outstanding on your suppliers, or on your payment days, or you want to see how many days is left to pay a particular invoice, for instance. So you want to always work with the current date. So if you want, you can have a cell on your table that will show you what the current date is. And if you put a formula which is equal to today, you open a bracket, close the bracket, and enter. So today's date is 21/11/23. If I close this file today, then I open it tomorrow, it would give me tomorrow's date. So it would always be current. So you know that, okay, if I have 28 days left to pay my supplier today, I know that by tomorrow, when I open my spreadsheet, it will give me 27 days left, because it's now tomorrow. It's no more 28 days. So it would continue to, so you have the current date in that cell. It will always give you the current date. And if you also want the time, so the date and the time, if you use the function now, equal to, now, let's open a bracket and close the bracket. If we do now, it will give us the date and the time. And that would continue, that would change tomorrow as well. It will continue to change. So it's a live cell that will continue to change. Once you refresh your spreadsheet, it will change. And then if we want to hard code the date, so I've got the function here. So if you want to like add code, you don't want it to refresh tomorrow, you want it hard coded. If you do control, and that's control semicolon, it will give you the date. But if you click on it, you see that it's a date, it's not formula driven. So when you open this spreadsheet tomorrow, it will still be 21/11, unless you do that control semicolon again. And if you, for time, is control, I don't even know which one is semicolon and colon. I think this is the colon. So the time should be, no, control colon should be, no, escape and do, is it control shift?
You can control
yeah.
shift.
It's
Yeah.
control shift, yeah. Otherwise you won't get the colon. Yeah, so it's control shift colon. And that will give you the time. So this should be control shift colon. Is that clear? If so we have the date here. Let's make this today's date is control this. If we want to extract the day from this date, so we only want to extract the day. That's, we just want to extract 21. We want to extract the month. And we want to extract the year. You use the text function to extract it, and you're going to put the format of the day. So it would be equal to text. When you open a bracket, it will ask you for the value. This is the value. This is what we want, comma. Then it's going to ask you what format of text do you want. I want day. So this is, I want day. If I close the bracket, it will give me 21. If I want to do month, it will be equal to text. Open a bracket. Click on this, comma. What's the format for my month will be MM, and close the bracket and enter. That's my month. For my year, what would it be? Can someone guess what the year would be?
Equals text.
Equals to text.
Text.
Open bracket.
Open bracket.
Click on the
Click on the value, comma. What will be my format for the year?
YY.
YY, and always remember, just put it in the
bracket close.
And then bracket close and enter. And that's my year.
Sorry, Kemi, if you wanted the 2023, would that be YYYY?
Yeah, so if we wanted the 2023, let's see, it would be equal to text. Open a bracket. Click on the text, comma. It would be YYY. And then close the bracket and enter. That's 2023. If I want, instead of November, instead of 11, if I want November, what do I do for the month? Instead of having it as 11, I want NOV. It will be,
let me try. Okay. Equals text.
Text.
Open bracket.
Open bracket.
B11.
B11.
Comma.
comma,
inverted commas, those two apostrophes. Yeah.
okay,
M, close bracket.
close the bracket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I wanted the full November, what would it be? I want the full November. I don't want NOV. What would it be? Let's try it. Equal to
Text.
text. Open the bracket. Click on the
Comma.
value, comma. What will be our format?
Not sure.
Yeah, MMMM. Let's do MMMM. And then we have November. And that's the longest it would be, even if you do 10 MMMs. I don't think it would be longer than that, right? So it's just for MMM. If we want to, if we try that for the day, what are we going to get? So instead of 2 DDs, if we try 3 DDs, what is it going to be? Let's try it. What do you think it's going to be if we try DDD?
I tried it and it gave me the day of the week.
Yeah, it will give you the day of the week. So if you do text, click on this and day gives us the day of the week. And if we want the full Tuesday and not CUE, what will it be?
Text.
Equal to text. Open a bracket.
DD.
Click on, and then it will be DDDD. And if we close that, it should give us a full Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay. I hope that is clear.
Yes.
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. Do you want me to go over any other thing that we've done today?
Yes, please. The date and time.
The date and time. Which part? This part?
No, the,
Oh,
the first part, date
the
and time.
first part.
Yeah, now.
Okay. So the first part, they are quite you just need to know what function to use. So for today's date, the function is just today. So it would be equal to today. And then you open a bracket and close a bracket and enter. And that will give you today's date. For time is now. For the date, it will give you the date and the time. So it will be equal to now, open a bracket and close the bracket and enter. So that will give you the date and the time. And then to add code the dates. So the difference between these ones and the hard coded one is for the ones that are formula driven. If you open this file tomorrow, if you save it and open it tomorrow, it will come up with 2211 because that will be tomorrow's date. So it will always reference the current date. And the time would also reference the current time because it is formula driven. What you've put is the formula. But if you want to hard code it and you don't want it to keep changing, then for hard coded date, it's going to be control semicolon. And then for the hard coded time, it will be your control plus shift plus your semicolon or your colon. And that is what you get. So 2227. So you just need to know what the functions are And once you start using them, you get used to them. So it's today. Today is the current date. And now is the date and time. If we want to do just time, for instance, let's say, if we want to do time, just time, I'm gonna move this here. So it's now, can you see that that has changed? The time has changed because the time keeps changing. So every time you refresh or you go to that cell, it will change to the current time. So if we just want the time, instead of the hard-coded time, if we just want the time, I believe we should be able to change the format of the cell to give us the time. So if we right-click and format cell, so we just want the time. Let's do, if we pick this, hour and minutes and okay, and then it gives us just the time. So instead of the date and the time, if you want just the time, just change the format of the cell. And then it would always be that time. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to look at some other text functions. We're going to look at text to columns. So we'll look at text to columns and how to build lists, how to insert lists, how to use the text to column functions, how to use data validation next week, and how to convert like numbers to text using text to column. That's what we're going to do next. That's what we're going to start with next week. And then we're going to look at some questions that will cover what we have done so far. And then after that, we'll do like a class exercise. So I think that's where we're going to stop today. And if you have any questions,